Welcome to renovatingrichesradio.com with your hosts, Dennis Rodriguez and Ricardo Rosales. The show where we talk about turning rags into riches.
We are not responsible if this is not work for you. Read the fine print only. Do not believe a word we say. Results may vary depending on how much self-education and due diligence you do. This is only for the action takers and serves as entertainment.
And we are live here at Renovating Riches Radio with another show. Today it's going to be very interesting. We're going to be talking to this guy sitting on my left-hand side. Ricardo, you want to introduce our guest today?
Yes, sir, Mr. Keith Baker, and he's got the Private Lender Podcast. How about that? I never thought I would find a podcast about private lending. And
I never thought I would find another podcaster as crazy as we are, and doing this thing for
especially in the Houston area.
Yeah.
And within the same neighborhood, because we all pretty much live pretty close by. So we are at this networking event that Landon and Ray put together a few weeks ago, and I'm walking to go get me some refreshments.
Beer.
Exactly. And I look at the
Thanks,
banner.
Landon. Your meetups are awesome.
Yeah, and then I look at the banner, and I look, the Private Lending Podcast. Who the hell is this guy, man? And I go, hey, Keith. And he's like, what's going on? Hey, nice to meet you, man. My name is Ricardo. By the way, I got a podcast, too.
That's exactly how it went down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Keith, thanks for being here with us. We appreciate you driving down to the outskirts of Houston. Some people ask if they need a passport to come over to our office.
Landon definitely needs a passport.
Yeah, well.
For him, that's like a 3-hour drive,
Yeah, it's about 2 time zones for him, I think.
Yeah,
isn't it?
exactly.
Yeah, where he lives over there in the boonies.
Yeah.
He's in somewhere in the East Coast. But no, anyways, we feel very, very fortunate to have you here and tell our audience that there is a podcast out there.
By the way, if you're watching right now, this is what I would like every single one of you to do. Go on Facebook and go on the website, on the World Wide Web, the www, and go privatelenderpodcast.com.
Yep. Or Facebook, Private Lender Podcast, Instagram.
Hit like, okay, and subscribe to it. So you can follow Keith and all the wealth of knowledge that revolves around private lending, which, by the way, is something we use a lot
it's how we fund our deals, and some people ask, I got friends that think that we're, multi-millionaires and that's how we buy houses. That's not the case. We use people like what Keith is showing others how to do, how to use money that you have saved on your retirement accounts, 401k plans, and use that money, invest it with people like us. And we buy houses, but Keith can talk a little bit more about it. So let's start from the beginning, Keith. So
Sure.
You were born a private lender, correct?
I was born to a very rich family.
Okay.
And your dad told you invest this $10 million however you want, right?
Basically,
that's exactly how it happened.
I had 3 trust funds growing up, and it was my choice on how to spend each of them. But no, seriously, thank you guys for having me come on the show. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you for getting the love out there on social media. As we were both trying to expand our podcast and our spheres, world of influence that we have. So, thank you very much. And really, I mean, my story is. I don't know if it's typical or not. I hated numbers growing up. I was more of a daydreamer and didn't do well at math. And in fact, my mom actually went to work at my high school just to make sure that I would graduate. And I did. And I always I always
Hold on, you gotta dig a little bit into that because we like the funny stories. What do you mean that your mom had to go to work in high school so you can graduate?
Okay, so I was I guess the word is slacker. I think is the right word, is what they say. Anyway,
procrastinator?
Yes, definitely a procrastinator. And so my mom was working.
Works well under pressure.
Yeah. Yes.
You ever find out all procrastinators, man, they're good at when it gets towards the end, they'll make it happen, man.
I just need 15 minutes.
Yes.
That's all I need. I can get whatever it is done in 15 minutes. That last 15 minutes.
I think I completely fall into that category because I used to have a boss that told me, he was like, I don't care what you do as long as you do your work. And I'm like, okay. So I'll come Monday to work, and I'll say, okay, so what do I have to do this week? Okay, by the end of this week, I need to turn these drawings to this client. All right. And I did nothing for like Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Then Friday, I'll come all fired up. I got 8 hours to get these drawings done. Boom.
Done and out the door.
Yeah.
Okay, but this show is not on how do you become a procrastinator. Don't get that wrong.
No.
This is about
we want
Keith.
Former procrastinators.
Yes.
People who take action now. But that was my.
So she went to work at your high school doing what?
It's funny. The bookkeeper.
Helping.
She was. It's funny. The bookkeeper.
Helping the principal.
Yeah, it was funny. She was right behind the principal's. There was the principal's office, like a little conference room, and then my mom's office. So like when all the clubs and stuff would sell, the M&Ms and the candy, and they'd bring all this cash, and my mom had a money counting machine and the little thing where the change would scroll down, and the quarters and the dimes and every. And I got sent to her office more than I did the principal's office when I was in high school. So seriously, and she was
put you in
busy.
line.
Yeah, which we'll talk.
Square you away.
We'll discuss this with your father when he gets home. That kind of thing. And I'm like, okay, Mom, fine.
And that must be horrible, man, because now you're thinking, oh my God, Mom is gonna go tell my dad what I did today. So that's the agony in between. I don't know, 1 o'clock in the afternoon until whenever you saw your dad in the evening, which is probably the last face you wanted to see that day.
My mom was my math and science teacher, 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. So tell me about it. I mean, having your mom there in the classroom, it's horrible.
But this is how you get the shiny object syndrome. We start talking about Keith and the Private Lender podcast, and we end up talking about procrastination and mom and teaching math. Anyways, getting back on track.
The moral of the story is don't do what we're talking about. But yeah, so it's funny. I was I didn't want to go to school or anything, college, and my dad was begging me. And anyway, so I
want to pay your college education. Go.
Yeah, well, it was funny. So I ultimately stayed home. I went to junior college. I worked, and kind of that thing. And I found out like, wait a minute, I don't have to go to class. Like I can choose not to go to school.
Yeah,
like
the procrastination continues.
Look, man, when I went to college, the only reason I went to college
was to take a look at the girls.
That's it.
I knew it.
Boom.
I didn't care for the class. I was like, I was going for business, right? And you got these guys teaching business, and
that's not the business you were there for.
What kind of business do you own? None. I'm just the teacher here.
Yeah.
And you're like, and I am supposed to learn business from you?
From this guy.
Right. And so I quickly dropped. So
yeah, I don't blame you. But and just we'll get back on track. But just my favorite day of school was always the first day of the fall semester when it was August and it was very hot outside.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Skirts
I think exactly. That was
well. That was every day for us down in Puerto Rico.
Yeah, that was every day. Yeah, exactly. So every day you want to go to school at that point,
Actually, Tuesdays were cool because Tuesday and Thursday people had the least amount of classes, and everyone will go to the beach. So girls will show up to school like with the top of her, bikini, and from there go.
You see, this is what happened. We did an hour ago.
That sounds horrible.
We did a podcast where Keith actually interviewed us for his private lending podcast.
It went well.
It went very well.
Oh, yeah.
In between his podcast and this new podcast, we had a beer.
One beer.
And now we're talking about girls in bikinis and, the first day of summer.
You can tell we're getting old because one beer.
So, one beer gets you going, right? So, anyways.
I shouldn't be doing this for the record. I have daughters. I shouldn't be saying
I do too, man. I got daughters. I got kids.
Let's talk about private lending.
All right, private lending. So,
but getting back with the private lender.
So So when I was I ultimately I did transfer out and go to school and finish. But while I was there, my dad, cut me off. Okay, glad you got to go to a major university, but I'm done. So I was like, okay. So I started working construction, and one thing my dad did do though, he did say, look, I'll buy you a power washer if you think you can use it. So I started hustling power washing concrete and decks and driveways and things around the neighborhood, and so I just kind of parlayed that into the construction side. And while I was at school, I worked for this Ed Phillips Construction, and Ed was a plumber and a licensed master plumber, but he was also a fireman. So every third day Ed was at the fire station, and he ran crews, and we did a lot of make-readies, College Town. We did all of those kind of things. So I did that for I was with Ed for a year until I could finish up school, and then when I got out, I just kind of continued that on my own. I went and worked at a bar for a little while, and and then went into construction or construction management for a home builder for MHI McGuire Home Builders, Plantation, Pioneer, and Coventry. Anyway,
this is all in Houston, right?
This is all in Houston. I was born and raised in Sugar Land.
Here, okay.
Yeah, down here. So go to work for them, and then growing up, my dad was in the oil field. He was a chemist in the oil field, and he always told me never go in the oil field. And in the early 2000s, the oil field was picking up. So I went in. I started working at a little company called Schlumberger. Down in
what is it? The Blue Army?
The blue. We called ourselves Smurfs because we had to wear blue on the rigs. But so I gained a lot of great. I worked measurement while drilling, so I basically ran a GPS tool that was underground. And that
you probably know a lot of my friends.
As I about to say, you worked at Weatherford, yeah.
Before Weatherford, I was with Drill Quip and FMC.
Oh, really? Okay.
But I ran the wellheads when the MWD guys were drilling. So we were there on the rig hanging out pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. And everyone's watching the videos from the directional drill, right? Because they had the best videos, if you know what I mean. But anyway, enough rig talk.
See how we get off track?
I didn't get that
exactly. That was my fault. I apologize.
That's the oil field hand coming back to him.
Exactly. That's the oil field. You can't get rid of it once it's in you. So anyway, while I was in the field, I started a family, and I was always kind of dabbling. It always kind of killed me. Ed Phillips did a great thing for me because it's stuck in my head. He's like, hey, this duplex is for sale. You want to go halves on it, and we'll rent it out to college students. I go, man, I'm about to leave. He's like, I'm not going anywhere. I live here. And I chickened out. I said no. And I regret it because I just happened to look at what that street, those duplexes were going for 20 years later.
Wow. They could have been paid for already?
I could pay for my kids' college.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's like Ricardo's story with his 200 Bitcoins that he sold for like $20.
No. Look. So I bought. So long story short, I bought 200 Bitcoins, $1 each. Okay.
Nice.
In November 2017, a Bitcoin was worth $19,000. So if
do
you
the math, that's like
$4
million.
I did the math, and if I would have kept those 200 Bitcoins, that would have been $4.5 million.
There you go. And how much you have now? I
only sold them for $10,000 back then, so I did make some money.
It's a win.
I mean, I made $9,800 of $200. I mean, that's what kind of return is that, right? But those are the $4 million more expensive that I paid for in my life. Because if I would have forgotten about those 200 Bitcoins, I don't think I'll be sitting on this podcast, guys.
You would. It's just we'll be doing the podcast from Hawaii.
Because I will be living in Mexico probably. The beach. I'm not a mountain guy. I'm a beach guy. Although I do go to mountains every now and then. But I would have been sipping on rum and maybe watching somebody else's podcast. But anyways,
let's get back.
It wasn't meant for me. So hey, I didn't get to cash in big on the Bitcoin deal.
But hey, no, but look, it's still a win. It's not as big a win as it could have been.
No. You
didn't do anything wrong,
dude. And when I got those $10,000, when I needed it the most, I had more month than the end of my money that month. Hey, that's why I went to look for those $200.
Yeah. Hey, I did. Well, my story like that, not as big, but I must have been around 12 or 13. I bought a Jose Canseco rookie card.
Oh wow!
All right, you guys know. Okay, so I think I paid $10 for it, and then I wrote a hot check. So I must have been 16. I bought it when I was younger. Anyway, I wrote a hot check. I went to and it wasn't intentional. I just I didn't.
You don't know how to handle
it. I wasn't trying to steal or anything. Anyway, the bank came back and was like, well, you owe this money here. And the store said, well, you owe us $20. I'm like, oh, crap. So I went to my dad. I'm like, hey, Dad, I did this. He's like, tough.
Good luck.
You figure it out. So I sold a Jose Canseco rookie card to cover my hot check.
Oh.
Yeah.
And how much is it worth now?
I have not looked because I don't want to know.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, but that's similar. But yeah,
that's easy. Hold on, keep talking.
So I say, look at Jose Canseco. It was the Donruss Jose Canseco rookie card. But anyway, so in the oil field, I'll get back on track. This is all my fault. I apologize. Renovating Riches Podcast Nation there. So in the oil field, started a family. and my father-in-law got ill. My dad, family just, the dynamic started to shift. It was best if I come home, and so I took a job as an insurance adjuster for the oil field. And I told the recruiter no 3 times. She called me and said, hey, you got this construction and, you got residential construction, but you also have commercial, because I did some commercial stuff, did some works for some rehabs, or not rehabs, but some remodels for some Walmarts with the subcontractor and stuff. And you got the oil field, and you ever thought about insurance? I'm like, hell no, I don't want that. She called the 3rd time. No, they really want to interview you, so okay, fine. And I took a leap. I said, fine, let's do it. And I started. I jumped right when oil kind of peaked. So 2008, I became an insurance adjuster.
$120 a barrel.
It was 145, man.
Oh wow.
Yeah. By the time I accepted the position, I think it was down in the 130s, but it was definitely on the slide down. And my dad was in the oil field, so he sat on a couch for like 8 months one time when oil went to crap in the 80s. So I figured I got to do something.
I actually got friends right now that've been sitting on the couch for 3 years now.
Yeah, exactly.
So this time around is a lot worse.
Yep.
Than now. It shows some signs of recovery, but anyways.
At least gas is going up. I fill up my car and I'm like, what?
Yeah, but it really has nothing to do with the price of gas. It's got to do more with the price of oil itself and whether
it's expensive. Right?
Well, we opened up all. It's not a show on oil. We'll get to that another time. But yeah, it's the economics behind the macro behind it. But so anyway, I became an adjuster for the oil field, but I always kept kind of my toe in the real estate thing. I'd go to the RIAs, and this is back before meetups weren't really that big at the time, but. I was a member.
Well, the only reason they're big now is because there's so many.
Yeah, exactly.
In Houston at least.
Oh, definitely.
You go to another city, it's not the same thing.
Yeah, Houston's pretty much saturated with meetups.
Because all the people they have laid out.
Exactly.
The oil field, they need to find something to do. So.
Yeah, and they watch Home and Garden television and say, "Hey, I want to." Anyway, but so I kept in with real estate and kept doing the insurance adjusting, and I have the same adjuster's license as the guys that that come out and adjust your auto wreck or your Harvey claim on your house. But my average, I don't deal in tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars. My job, we deal in millions. Right. So one day I turn around and I realize, like, holy crap, man, I'm getting close to like $1 billion of other people's money that I've handled. And sitting around, I'm like, well, I need to, I had the Dave Ramsey moment, like, I need to figure all this out, and let's get a plan, and let's pay it forward. And I decided, hey, you know what, I heard about this thing at Quest IRA. I'm like, I'm going to go take a class. So I took my wife, and she was like, yeah, this sounds interesting. This is kind of right up your alley. Yeah, I'm comfortable doing this with you. And so I was like, okay, but I didn't do anything for a while. This is like 2008, 2009.
Oh, wow. So that's been almost 10 years.
Oh, this is when Quest was like a tiny little office. Like, they didn't have the whole downstairs like they do in the building now. Like, the room was like this little triangle with like 12 seats.
Yeah, it was Quincy and his brother probably sitting side by side.
Yeah, Quincy and Nathan sitting there.
I think Nathan wasn't there. He came later, right?
Nathan, Quincy did the first class I went to, and then I met Nathan, I guess was the second class. But this was back when Quincy had hair, before he shaved his head.
Wow.
So this was a while ago.
Did he have long hair?
It wasn't long. It was respectable. It wasn't as short as mine, but it was he had well before he shaved it. So, so I had I had my old Schlumberger 401k. I had a few other. I'd worked at Reliant Energy and stuff, and my wife had worked at Enron. She got out before the crooked E went down, but
wow.
So we just took our some of our 401ks and put them into self-directed, and I kind of sat on the sideline for a few months, and then I met a guy at a RIA, and he's like, look, this is what I need. I need money to acquire properties. I'm going to borrow your money for 6 months. I only pay 8%, but you'll get your money back and refinance out. And when I refinance out in 6 months, we close at a title company, blah, 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 blah. Kind of the normal spiel that people who look for private lenders give. And I was skeptical. I made him meet me at a Starbucks. I didn't even drink coffee then, but I was like, we're going to meet at a Starbucks. And he sat down.
A bottle of water?
Yeah, I was, bourbon maybe. But he sat down at the table, and I said, look, I don't know who you are, really. I mean, I know you have a good reputation around, the RIA club and whatnot, but I don't know who you are. And he just put everything on the table. He said, look, there's my credit report. This is where one of my tenants has sued me. I do have a judgment against me. And just He laid him. Hey, what's up, truck? How you doing? But sorry.
That's what we like about the podcast,
Squirrel.
Man.
But
you know when it gets interesting?
When
crash.
Was that when they crash?
Yeah,
right
crash,
there.
or when somebody turns this way, because this is one way.
Yeah.
We see it all the time.
Oh, I bet you do. Yeah.
For people that are just listening to the podcast, we are at a very busy intersection where, we have windows just like the Today Show, that you see cars behind, but
we actually thought about having our studio in that corner with the view of the cars, but then we said, no, they'll get distracted with all the stuff that happens behind us. So let's just pull over this way.
Probably get some guy that I grew up with, like standing in the window just staring at you.
Going like this,
doing the elevator stuff.
No, they're doing like little horns over your head or something.
Okay, back.
Sorry. Yeah. So anyway, So I started. I told him, I said, look, I want more than 8%, but I tell you what, I'll do 8%, but you have to walk me through everything. You got to hold my hand, take me to the property. I want to see the floorboards. I want to see everything, and he did. And the first 3 loans I did with this guy, he walked through and just did everything, and then I got very comfortable with that. Saying, okay, I still go look at every property. I see it, I touch it, I taste it. Maybe not taste it, but I put my hands on, walk on it.
We got some that you probably don't want to taste.
Yeah, I've been to a few. I've loaned on a few of them that you want to keep your mouth and your nose shut when you walk in. But so that's kind of how I got started, and my adjusting career kind of blossomed at the same time, and. I found myself going from, I can't wait to quit, I'm going to do real estate, to, I can't wait to have my own adjusting company and real estate company.
Right. Because you enjoy both.
I do. I really do. I mean, I've been to the Straits of Magellan. I've been to Norway, been to London, South China Sea. I mean, just on somebody else's nickel, I get to, eating steak and drinking Malbec in Buenos Aires.
Right.
And all it cost me was my time.
Yeah,
that was.
And you got paid for it.
I got paid. Yeah,
but you were traveling because of Schlumberger, or
this is
adjusting.
Yeah, this is losses. Yes, Schlumberger kept me in South Texas and the Gulf of Mexico. I didn't get to travel too much.
He learned a little bit of Texican while he was in South Texas with Schlumberger.
Yeah. Oh, hey, my first job was in right south of Zapata in Falcon State Park, and another squirrel story, a shiny object. The crew. It was Neighbors Drilling. They were all Mexicans, right? And the nationals, but they had visas to come over, and they all spoke perfect English. And I got down there on December 30th, and the cold snap came, and there's all these rattlesnakes out on the road.
Oh wow!
And they hadn't even put the mast up on the rig yet, and the assistant driller was going around with the 5-gallon bucket, picking up all the rattlesnakes and popping their head on the ground. We had the best barbecue on the rig that night, and it was
snake barbecue.
It's snake barbecue. It was. I hate snakes, but anyway, I digress. But yeah, so
but the adjusting business took you worldwide.
Basically,
it's like me. I joined the Navy to see the world, and I saw South Texas because I was stationed down in Ingleside.
Okay.
So I saw Ingleside, right? And I drove in between San Antonio and Ingleside at the time because that's where my ex-girlfriend
the worst luck you can ever.
Dude, right? I joined it to see the world, and there I was in Ingleside and I'm looking at it like, what am I doing?
Isn't Corpus Christi the world?
Look. And
Robstown.
I know Robstown very well.
Yeah.
So then I get out of the Navy and I joined the oil field.
To stay home.
And then you stayed in Robstown when you were
No, because now, so I'm working for this company called FMC Technologies.
Right.
And I'm a subsea hand, and I'm going all over the world.
Oh, yeah, you are going
business class.
That's the only way to go when you're going long haul.
Sometimes I get mad because they pay $15,000 for one of my plane tickets, and I didn't make that much money,
Yeah.
The most I would make back then was probably $8 or $9 grand. And I say, man, they're paying more for my plane ticket that I'm actually making,
Yeah.
But I got to see the world just like yourself.
Yeah, and it's I love that. And I mean, I've been inside of my first trip to London was when I was in college. I was a broke backpack student, and
London is expensive.
I stayed 2 days, and I got out.
You're like, okay, I need to go.
Yeah, and I was staying at a hostel. I think it was still like $30 or $40 a night, and it was just nasty. I didn't even take a shower. It was so nasty. But anyway.
Wow.
So my first trip to London as an adjuster was completely different.
Oh, yeah. Now you're eating steak at the nicest steakhouses.
I mean, it's just, curries, and, I got to wear a suit, but, I'm drinking pints, and they take us into Lloyd's, and they, Lloyd's of London, and they show us all this stuff and all the levels, and I'm like, man, this is actually kind of cool, and there's a lot of other people's money changing hands every day there. And being an adjuster, I get to see a lot of the claim. My specialties are blowouts, upstream and midstream was kind of where where my specialties. And so, I love that, and do someday hope to have my own adjusting.
Do you know how Lloyd's of London got created?
Coffee shop. Bunch of ship owners.
That is exactly
sat around and we're thinking, hey man, you just lost a ship, but if everybody put in a little bit of money into a pot, and Lloyd's was a coffee shop, just a little cafe.
Yeah.
And they said, you put a little money in, and this is how insurance started actually.
Yep.
And they put in money. Everyone paid a little bit of money, and if they lost a ship, boom, here's your cargo money. Here's your money to go buy another ship. And then every year you put a little money back in the pot. And now I don't know how many. There's hundreds of syndicates, and because there are companies. Lloyd's isn't just one. I mean, Lloyd's is one company, but Lloyd's of London, as we know it, is several companies that have come together that take. They buy 10% of this insurance.
They're buying risk, basically.
Yeah, they're buying risk. You're trading risk.
Yeah.
It's exactly it. So I found it very, quite fascinating. And then at that point, I guess is when like everything just started kind of, the gear started to grind, and with Quest and everything, and then. I had mentors, I'm going to do little foreclosures, and I had coaches and stuff, and I found out that I'm a horrible landlord, and there's a young couple I need to apologize for in Baytown. I'm so sorry, you know who you are, but you didn't have to get the lawyer. You didn't have to get the lawyer, but anyway, I learned a lesson about partners and rentals and what partners were doing when you didn't know what they were doing and what they were telling the tenant. So. But I've always just kind of gravitated back into private lending because I keep my day. I can't do a rehab because
you're busy.
Tomorrow morning I might get a call. There's a blowout in Oklahoma, and I'm on a plane to
busy.
Oklahoma City or maybe North Dakota or wherever the oil is. So, but private lending, within reason, I can stay active. I can stay involved, and it's led to so many things. I've gotten other partners. I've done other JVs, done other businesses, and because I always believe in a side hustle. And it's been amazing. And then when I started looking around, that nobody's talking about private lending. I mean, gurus are talking about private lending. People who utilize private lending and realize the power that private money has, were talking about it. But nobody was out there saying, "Hey, Mr. Accountant, Mr. Engineer, stay at your job, keep your 401k and your insurance." But it doesn't take a whole lot to learn how to successfully and safely lend to people who know what they're doing. And so I started the podcast
and don't get me wrong. Sometimes people that know what they're doing, they still end up in a bind.
Well, all investment is a risk. All investment involves risk. All investments, I should say, involve risk. So my thing is, look, I want to help people mitigate that risk and learn how to do it safely. And look, sometimes you invest long enough, you're going to have a loss.
Yeah.
Everybody is. I don't care if it's stocks, bonds, mutual funds, Bitcoin.
The good thing with us is that none of our investors has had a loss. I did get myself in a bind at one point when Harvey happened.
Sure.
Because everything stopped. I got 45 employees that are not there anymore, rehabbing our houses, but we still got the interest payments every month.
Yeah.
And now we're not able to acquire houses because everybody's backed up, so it created a chaos around our business on the flipping side.
Absolutely.
Wholesaling side, we're like, now we're picking up all these properties, right? So we were able to basically make up for our losses on the wholesaling. And so we didn't go under. We could have gone under because now you got rehabs that are not finished. And your lenders
no
are
crews are coming over to do it.
No,
they're getting
we're still struggling to get crews.
Yeah, it's gonna hit. It's gonna be in Houston for a while. Yeah.
So I'm reaching out to my private lenders now. It's like, dude, you're gonna have to give me a break here because what happened is just not normal,
Correct.
And they're like, oh yeah, we know. Do you need more money? Yeah,
we'll take it. Good private lenders. Then,
we got some good private lenders, and they're very understandable.
And that, we did. I have a loan out in Orange, or not Orange, sorry, Port Arthur. Very similar story. The guy bought the house 6 days before Harvey, and I told him, I said, look, we'll restructure the loan. Don't worry about payments. We'll just put everything on the back end.
Yep.
And I was like, things happen. And and it's fine. He's cool with it. So we're still working that, and and he actually just started kicking back in. So everything's working normal. But I do have a question for you. I know it's your show. Sorry, but you none of your lenders suffered, did they?
No, I might have gotten behind a little bit on a couple of payments because there was no cash flow.
Sure.
And now I got no crews. So Now
you can't flip a house. You can't sell the house. It's not
I
finished.
can't do nothing, right? But I got some lenders that understand. They are like, we know. They've been in this business long enough.
Sure.
But some of the new ones, they want to see that payment hit that one day, right?
Boom.
And then the payment doesn't hit. Oh, Ricardo, what's going on? Am I in troubles? I was like, nah, you're not in troubles. I'm behind because I got cash flow that is coming in or whatever. But we're wholesaling here, so we're making money on the other side. And we're making up for our losses. Don't get me wrong. I'm still paying all my lenders for all that time that the house is. We're not even saying, hey, I'm going to pay you on the back end or. No, I'm going to pay you whatever I owe you.
Sure.
I'm going to finish the property, in which we have. We have finished a lot of these properties. They're on the market now. And we're in the process of finishing whatever we picked up during that time. So has it been easy? No, but that has made us grow even more.
Oh, absolutely.
Because now we got to go acquire more. We got to go wholesale more. And we're ramping up the mailing business as well. So the key is to have multiple streams of income. I don't know that some of the flippers out there that were rehabbing during Harvey survived. I think only the big ones did. Like the guys that had like very solid businesses and they got a lot of like private lenders and people that understand really what happens or what needs to take place in order for them to survive. But I don't know if the little guy did it because the little guy doesn't have a bunch of other money lined up to go.
Doesn't have 4 crews or doesn't have the money, like you said, the money lined up.
Or even his own credit cards or whatever, because at the end of the day.
Maybe they had a budget to do this house and now that budget it's completely blown because, people that were, making $10 an hour are now making 25 just because.
I'll give you an example.
Because they can.
Yeah, because they can. So we got these guys that are starving for work because they come to us like, oh, sir, I need work. I'm starving. I said, okay, man, go quote me this drywall work. You need to, hang the drywall, float, tape, and texture, and then paint it. Oh, yeah, that's $150 a sheet. And I was like, what? Are you kidding me? That's like a $20,000 job on a 1,500 square foot house. That doesn't make no sense, man. Labor, only labor. He's not talking about materials. He's not talking about
$150 a sheet just to hang.
$150, and then but because it's you guys, we'll give it to you for $120.
And this was $30 like 8 months ago.
Right. Yeah. Well, Harvey killed a lot of business. The contractors, it didn't kill theirs, but the investors, it hurt.
No, but the thing is, a lot of these contractors are not busy.
No.
Because they want to charge that money.
It's just they still think they can get it.
Yeah, but they're not getting it from us.
Yeah.
So I rather, like I tell Dennis all the time, I rather pay my investor 10%, make him happy, because he's gonna keep loaning me money.
Yep.
The contractor,
How many contractors have you gone through, right? Versus your lenders. You get the right. I think you got the right mindset there. Totally.
I don't know how many contractors. I've only maybe had one lender that got pissed off because we didn't sell the house, and he had an equity appreciation on it.
Okay.
You follow me?
Yeah.
And now
so he wanted a quick turnaround then, or quicker.
It wasn't so much a quick turnaround, but it was more that he was counting on that appreciation to get paid in order for him to spend it on some freaking toy or something like that. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe take that vacation that he's been planning for.
Yeah.
But we couldn't sell the house, so I had to refinance it. And, hey, man, you're off of it. There's no equity going forward because the house got rented. And don't get me wrong, I wanted to sell it too because I could have made some money. But other than that, then you get the occasionals that you pay a day late and they're like, oh, my God, the world is ending.
Yeah.
But other than that, for the most part, most of our private funds have come through our lenders because they go and grab another one and bring them here. And they bring all these newbies that they've never done a lending ever. They're hesitant about putting their money in Quest because it's not the normal thing.
It's not Schwab. It's not Fidelity.
It's not Merrill Lynch or something like that. And it's our lender telling them, dude, it's okay, man. Put the money to work. This is safer than playing with stocks or playing the stock market or whatnot. And it's been word of mouth for the most part. We've gone and picked up a couple of lenders at Quest because we just got up there and pitched it. I had one lender that I'm not gonna mention any names, but he told me, son, I got a little $80,000 I can loan. And I said, all right, man, let me show you what I'm doing. And he got on my truck, and I did the money tour is what I call it. I showed him all my rehabs that are ongoing at the moment. And when he got done with I think I showed him like 7 or 8 properties at the time. He said, how in the hell are you buying all these houses? And I said, what are you talking about, man? I mean, I just go find the deal, and then I go find the money, and I put the two together, and then I buy the house. That's what I'm doing. Yeah, but most of the guys that are flipping houses in Houston, they're not doing what you're doing. And you're not in any of the RIAs, you're not in any of the guru groups. I was like, I don't have time for that. I only got time to go buy houses, flip them. That way I can make money, and pay my bills. And he's like, all right, son, I don't have 80 grand. I got $1 million. When do we put it to work? And that was kind of like the faucet that opened up. And when we went and got more properties, then he started bringing more money from his uncle and other people, and and then our friends that got a little bit of 60,000 here, 50,000 there, they started bringing all these things together, and before you knew it, boom, that's how it kind of like grew. But it was because we went out and market ourselves. We weren't shy on inviting people to come look at our properties. We still do it. We still bring every single private lender. Hey, you want to go look at properties? I got so many properties that you will tell me at one point during the day, all right, man, I've seen enough. Take me back. Let's go have lunch or whatever. But anyways, that's not about me. It's about him.
Yeah, I was gonna say let's get back on Keith's story. So Keith, we get the part of why you started the Private Lender podcast,
which is, by the way, we applaud it because.
Oh, thank you.
I think there needs to be a lot more education about it for the regular person. That, like you said, the engineer, the guy that has a job, and locally we got, we have been mentioning Quest IRA, and they have their Tuesday morning and Tuesday evening class, if you want to call it that. But I mean, if you're not in the Houston area, you're in, I don't know, Oklahoma, Alabama. You can still pick up the phone and call Quest.
Yeah, and they
do their webinar.
They webcast all those classes, so you can watch online.
So what exactly do you do with your podcast? I mean, do you interview?
How do you come up with the podcast? Like, okay, I understand you were doing private lending, but what came to you that you said, you know what, I'm gonna do a podcast about this thing?
It's a really good question, and I don't have a clean answer for you. I've always had business ideas. Oh, wouldn't it be great to do this? Wouldn't it be great to do that? And I get excited, and then when like 20 minutes later, I talk myself out of it. Nah, that'll never work. Nobody will ever do that. And when I was like, it just hit me. Like, I didn't even think I'm going to do a podcast. The thought hit me. I was on vacation with my wife and kids, and I was like, I'm going to do the Private Lender podcast, and I'm going to talk about private lending so that people who commute every morning and afternoon, 30 minutes, an hour, or whatever, like I was doing. That's how I was listening to podcasts kind of all over the place, from like Radio Lab and NPR stuff to real estate investing and entrepreneur stuff. And I was like, well, there's nobody doing private lending, and I still want to change the world. I want to get it to where I really think that things are going to change dramatically, and the more people are involved with, whether it be banking, private lending, investing, the better. My wife worked at Enron. I don't know if that was on my show or your show, but things can go horribly wrong with stocks. Now, hopefully you can get out, but I was interviewed Mitch Stephen on my podcast, the owner finance guy, and he said, if every one of Bernie Madoff's victims had for every $65,000 they had invested with Bernie, if they had a home that was worth $100,000, none of them would have gone broke. None of them. They'd all have something and wouldn't be waiting for the court to decide how much of their money they're going to get back, because they'd have that hard asset backing that investment.
Yeah, it's a foreclosure.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I tell, we tell most of our investors. So, look, man, if I die tomorrow, because that's a possibility.
Yeah, sure is, yeah.
If I die tomorrow, you got something you can go reclaim.
Yep.
And then you can go grab Dennis and say, Dennis, I'm going to deed this over to you now. You're going to go flip it. And by the way, I'm going to loan you the money at 10% or whatever.
Yeah.
Done. Now, I love the story they tell about the guy that used to have 2 properties over at Quest, and one of the properties, he loaned the money to somebody that started like not paying, and he went on for like years, and then they owed taxes, and one of the houses burned down, and he was not insured, and it was horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a deal gone wrong every way you can think about it. And then at the end, he still got the properties. And when he sold the one property that was still standing there for pretty much almost pennies on the dollar, he still got all his money back.
Yeah.
Because the property had appreciated so much throughout the years that the 2 lots were worth X amount and plus the house. So no way you can lose.
Yeah, and I look at it like this: like anyone can go out and make a company. They can file an LLC, an INC, a DBA, right? And I don't know what the statistics are now about how many businesses fail or whatever within the first 5 years, but there's one thing I can guarantee you: they're not making any more land.
Yep.
In real estate, and and you back that, you back your investment, you back your loan with it. And look, I'm not going to say that nothing can go wrong.
Oh, a lot of things can go wrong.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that can go wrong, but you've got that asset behind
you're not going to lose 100% of what you put in.
Exactly.
So, and let's talk a little bit about your podcast. So, how is it structured? I mean, do you interview other private lenders, or you interview? How does it work? I mean, how you bring that teaching part to other people that are maybe on the sideline thinking, should I put my money to work or not?
What I like to do is I like to split it up. I like to alternate. I like to do a solo cast where it's just me for about 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and I'll take a topic like, say, ARV, after repaired value. Let's talk about after repaired value. I'm not a realtor. I don't have access to the MLS. Well, good luck. There's this thing called the World Wide Web. And now you're not going to drill down and get exact, but you can build a range. You can look at enough websites and go, okay, houses in this neighborhood, you can kind of get a price per square foot of what you can get an idea of what it's worth, and you can look at, okay, this one's got Formica, this one's got granite, and kind of build your range and figure out where you're going to be. Or maybe it's LTV, and LTV is everything as a lender. That's where you keep yourself safe. And so I had a show on that. Where to get money, IRAs, cash money, inheritances. I know guys that go get home equity lines of credit. They borrow at 4% and loan it out at anywhere from 8 to 13. And they take the equity spread, and just keep going with it. Yeah. And the interest on the HELOC, well, at least it was deductible. I'm not sure if it is or not now after the new tax plan, but it was in the old way. It was. And I took a HELOC out to do my old house, the 8-year flip. I was telling you about. Yeah. my starter home with my wife. Yeah, we to fix it up initially, we took out a little bit of a HELOC, and then I took a little bit. I took just to get it going, and I was like, this is line of credit, right? I'm like, give me a little more. I've got a deal I can put some money into, and I'm only paying 4.8, and I can go get 10%.
Yeah, make the spread.
So, boom, done. And of course, now when I sold my house, I had to pay it off. But guess what? That money was still out there working for me, and it was cash money, not an IRA. Right. Yeah, I got to pay taxes on it, but I can use that money when it comes back to me. So anyway, so I'll do the solo cast. Then I like to interview people who are private lenders or people who utilize private lenders, because what I want to do is I want to get
both sides of it.
Both sides. And I haven't done it yet, but I'm going to have I do mindset, because there is a mindset you need to be, I think, to be a private lender. Just like there's a mindset if you're going to invest in real estate. Then it's easy to put money in a 401k and choose, I retire in this year, and choose that fund that's going to get you there, and the asset mix will, and that's fine. And I know a lot of people. I know a guy right now is a client of mine in the insurance world. He's a millionaire simply off of 401ks. That's it, right? And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but for me, I know, and there's a lot of people like me, we want more. We want to be more active. We want to be a little bit more involved. So I bring in hard money lenders. I bring in investors. I just kicked off the podcast on January 1st. Stephen Kaufman, owner of Zeus Mortgage. That was my first interview, and I wanted him to talk about mindset. I wanted to tell. He has a great story about being born in New York, growing up in a trailer park in Baytown, Texas, which if you're not from the Houston area, it's not the greatest place to grow up. And A-Leaf, and now he owns. He's done extremely well for himself, and he provides a very good service for not only real estate investors, but my personal mortgage on my personal residence I got through Zeus, just because of I wanted to give it to Steven's company, because I think he's an amazing guy, and he's taught me so much about this game, real estate and also lending. So I had him. He was episode 1.
Who did he work for before?
He was an accountant, and I.
Why do I?
You need to listen to the podcast.
The name sounds familiar.
It was a mortgage company. He worked for. I think it was a He worked. No, it wasn't a mortgage. He started as anyway. I don't remember.
He was involved with another hard money lending company, right?
I don't know.
I don't know. Your name sounds familiar, man. So.
But yeah. But anyway, Steve, thanks for being episode number 1. I appreciate it. And but I've had Mitch Steven, the owner finance king. Kevin Bupp, he's the trailer park guy out in Clearwater, Florida. I've listened. He has a podcast, and that's
what is he doing? I'm going to be there next week.
You're going to Clearwater, Florida? Look him up, Kevin Bupp. KevinBupp.com. He and Sunrise Capital. They have a fund. They buy mobile home parks.
Okay.
East and south, the south and the east mostly. He goes up to New York and stuff. But I interviewed him, and he's a great guy. You can go on his website and sign up every Friday. He takes 30 minutes twice, or an hour, and makes 2 phone calls. You put your phone number and your name, he'll call you and just shoot.
How do you spell his last name?
Bupp. Kevin
right.
Bupp, and a great guy. He agreed to be on the podcast, and how his first deal was with private money, and he's at a different game. He's doing Reg D, SEC stuff, with the funds.
Right.
But and my podcast will get there. My goal, another little squirrel shiny object moment. My goal is to start with single family and move and bring everybody up kind of at the same time. But Kevin's a little bit more advanced, but I didn't want to pass up the opportunity to interview him.
I guess eventually you'll get to talk in your podcast about syndication and how to get
absolutely
more advanced stuff.
Yeah, and separate accredited investors and the Reg D kind of the SEC stuff, the securities, and get into that syndications, apartments, commercial. That's where I want to take it. Also going to talk more about like joint venturing and whatnot, and how you don't have to be, if you can JV and you don't have to be an accredited investor.
Mm-hmm.
There are ways around. There's as my grandfather used to say, there's more than one way to skin a cat.
Yeah,
that's right.
So there's and that's what I want to bring to people, and I want to bring to people on their commute to work every day, or and start a conversation around the proverbial water cooler of hey, did you listen to this, and did you know that you can Schwab has a self-directed IRA, but you can't buy real estate, and you can't buy this or that with it, or maybe my cousin, not my cousin, but maybe you guys ran a construction or a landscaping business, need to buy a trailer. Well, I could make a loan on that. There's an asset, and if you can foreclose or repo if you have to. And it's not just real estate, but that's where I'm starting because with the podcast, because that's where I started from, and we've had the conversations earlier about blockchain and just what's changing, and I want to make sure that private lending and private individual citizens have the means, at least in the education, to go out and better themselves outside of the traditional realm of investments.
That's awesome.
That's awesome, man. So I'm gonna be one of your listeners on I'm not yet, because I went and found you, and then we're like, okay, let's do the podcast together. And we've been immersed in all the people we met in Vegas from the
Grant Cardone
group.
Growth Conference.
And I've been listening to Ed Milet and Andy Frisella but I got my doses of motivation now, and I'm referring back to the real estate portion of it. So I'm gonna be listening to you on.
So when does it air? I mean, do you do it like in a specific day every day of the week?
Mondays, every Monday.
Every Monday.
It launches live. I try to do it at midnight Central Time, and that gives me the weekend because good podcasters have they build up mini episodes and they have a schedule and they're not rushed. I'm not a good podcaster. Usually on Sundays, I'm telling the kids, "Shut up! I gotta record. The sponsor or whatever." So I'm slowly getting there, but like I said, I got a full-time job, family, side hustles with Landon, and doing some owner finance things myself. So it's it's fun, but it's I really enjoy it. I like talking to guys like you. You guys, you're putting the hustle in, and. Not to sound like a Trump fan, but this is what makes this country great, man. It's the opportunity to hustle, and and you can. I mean, look at Gary Vaynerchuk, for example. He wasn't at the Growth Con, but that guy came here from Belarus, and it was his dad hustled and bought a liquor store, and then Gary turned it into a $60 million a year enterprise, and didn't have a cut of any equity. And then he goes off and VaynerMedia is what, 200 million now, something like that a year.
I don't know, man, but those guys are playing with big numbers.
Yeah, but he came here with nothing. Lived in like 9 people in a studio apartment, right?
Well, I was listening to somebody
that.
talk about people that come from other countries, and we have the American dream.
Yeah.
And they say, how come somebody from Mexico, for instance, or somebody from Venezuela or Brazil, they come to the U.S. and they kill it? And it's because
they're hungry,
and they're from their country. In their country, they had to hustle.
Yep.
So when they came here, they kept the hustle. Like Puerto Ricans, for instance, it's not to go too far. Most Puerto Ricans are hustlers.
Yeah.
Why is that? Because their environment in their island is like, is me or me? Period. I gotta make it somehow.
It's cutthroat.
It's cutthroat, right? So they come to the U.S. even though they're Americans, right? But they move across the world.
It's still culturally different, yeah.
It's culturally completely different, and they go and thrive and have big businesses and got all these things. And then you look at, what's going on with the rest of the Americans that were growing up here with the American dream. Why didn't they come and hustle like some of the guys that are immigrants from Vietnam? We had a guy that we interviewed from Vietnam, and these guys are making great things, and you're like, why is it different? And it's because of the environment that they were growing up with. They were either being bullied by somebody else that was older, or they had to cut throat on their business because it was either the other guy or them, and that's getting lost in today's society.
Oh, we've had it too good.
We had it too good.
Yeah, it's funny. My wife's an immigrant. She's a naturalized citizen, and a little different story. But with her, her dad came here and he got an MBA, but my wife's from India. But
Okay.
it's and her group of people that she's from. It's education is the thing. You become
you have to
a
go to
doctor,
school.
a lawyer,
Yeah.
whatever. And what's funny is when I'll tell this little squirrel, shiny object syndrome thing. But my daughter came home with a report card the other day, and she had a 92. And me being the slacker suburban white kid, I'm like, yeah,
And your wife is,
92,
no.
great. And she's all depressed. And I go, what's wrong, honey? She goes, Mommy's gonna be mad because she's Indian. So I just told on my family there, but and my wife wasn't mad, but she was like, it was funny because she looked at it, she's like, 92, huh? She was like, you got to bring that grade
That's
up.
it.
But that's the culture.
Where did you fail?
But yeah, but talking with my mother-in-law, my father-in-law, it was. Granted, religion was different, culture was different, language was different, all that. But they saw that I had some hustle in me, and even though I didn't have higher education, they I still felt that there was a level of respect.
Yeah, you were approved
from that. Yeah, I was. Yeah, I was. And for all the Indian folks who speak Tamil, I'm the Velamaple, which means white son-in-law. But
All
anyway,
right. That's funny.
but yeah, it's and I come from. My father's dad was a medical doctor, right? And it's a true story. He put himself through undergraduate school during Prohibition by making moonshine. True story.
Wow.
And yeah, when he got caught, the dean told him that he could stay in school if he gave him a bottle per batch. So that's how my grandfather was able to make some good money.
I would have been like, I'll give you 2, but you gotta pass me with A's.
Exactly.
And
on the other side, my mom's family, they were sharecroppers from East Texas. So they owned a broom shop, they owned a grocery store, they had a paper route, they had and then when I say broom shop, they made brooms. They took the straw and the hay, and so I've always kind of had I guess a good pedigree for the hustle, which got me approved into the to the immigrant family. But it's I think because looking back on it for me, I know I was. I admit it. I was like, well, why doesn't everything just come to me? Mm-hmm. I was born here. It should just happen. No.
I should
be
entitled to success.
Yeah, I should. Yeah, I'm an American. My passport has American.
Yeah.
Why don't I? Why aren't I rich? Because you got to go get it. You got to go work for it. And so that's kind of been my mantra ever since. And what I'm trying to instill in my kids, like, hustle like an immigrant. Hustle like you just got here. And I don't think you can go wrong with that attitude.
I like the way you put that up, hustle like an immigrant, because in reality, that's really what happens. Now, I'm not saying all Americans are that way. No. There's American hustlers, that we actually look up to, like the guys we were just mentioning, Grant Cardone and Andy and Frisella.
Frisella's great, man.
And Ed Milet and Tim Grover.
Well, he's an immigrant.
He's partially immigrant.
He's from Chicago, so that's kind of like a foreign country.
Right. Yeah, they got a different accent up there, you know.
They talk different. Yeah, they talk different.
But who was the other guy that we even Ty Lopez. Oh, the real Brad Lee, you know.
Brad, brush your teeth.
Yeah, brush your teeth. So, but anyways, these are all Americans, right? That are actually hustling out there.
Yeah.
And but you see that we have a factory of pumping employees, which is go to school, get good grades, so you can go to another university and get a degree, so you can go get a job.
An employee.
And pretty much we live in a society where the education system is from the 1900s, early 1900s.
Yeah.
That's fixing to change. I think it's changing now. I don't know if academically, like the states or other countries are moving into something else. But if I
think it's starting to change. Universities are starting to hurt from people not wanting to go through college. So you'll see more of it, in the next, 10, 15, 20 years. You'll see how, unfortunately, some big universities are going to start, hurting real big because kids nowadays are figuring out that you don't really need a college degree to, be good in life, and you got all these things like Facebook and,
Look, the U.S., if you look back before the 1900s, before the Industrial Revolution, it was nothing but hustlers.
Yeah.
Because that's all you could do was hustle. It was either become a farmer or become something and trade,
Yep.
and
go to war and
but before the 1900s.
Oh, okay.
Right? I'm not talking about, going to war is later on, but that's the Industrial Revolution that I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Before the Industrial Revolution, it was 90% entrepreneurs and 10% employees.
Mm-hmm.
Because you didn't have corporations. You didn't have any of these things. When the Industrial Revolution came over, that steel was started to be made, and we needed to make ships, and we needed to make all these things. That's when that took it to the next place, which is, all right, now we need to prepare people to work.
Yeah.
We need labor.
We need factory workers.
We need skills.
Yeah.
We need factory workers. And this is when this whole 8 to 5 thing started. Because you go to school from 8 to 5, or from 8 to 3 or whatever. But the whole conditioning started, to prepare the human being to be a laborer. And that's where we live today. It's the same system. It has not changed. Unless guys like you, him, and me jump off the cliff and say, oh, hold on a second, I'm going to go do something else, man. I'm going to have a job and have a side hustle.
Yeah.
Who's that? I think it's Zig Ziglar, the one that says, you earn a living at your job, but you earn a fortune on your time off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or you make wealth on your time off. And that's exactly what you're doing with, you're having a good job and then, doing your private lending, doing podcasts. Those are side hustles. You're not really getting a check from some of those.
No. Yeah, it's when I did go to college, and the thing I want to talk about, like my oldest daughter's 11, and I'm conflicted about pushing college. Like, I want her.
I'll give you a story here real quick.
Yeah, go
my
ahead.
daughter's 20,
Uh-huh.
and she graduated high school 2 years ago, and when she graduates, I'm like, I hope she doesn't go to college. I hope she doesn't go to college. Now, her mom is like, you need to go to college because she's still completely boxed in on that. And I'm okay with that. But I was like, I hope she tells me tomorrow she doesn't want to go to college. And she was not an A student during high school. So I'm like, man, she will drop out and she'll come to daddy. I'll show her how to hustle, right?
Yeah.
Daddy, I want to go to college.
Okay.
And I was like, really? Are you sure? I'm like, I was still like, are you sure?
Sure.
Yeah, because she likes music. I want to go to college and I want to study music.
Okay, yeah.
And I said, all right, that's your passion, so I'm okay with you going to college and going for your passion. And long story short, she got actually accepted to Berkeley and all kinds of things. Yeah.
Wow, really?
Exactly.
Nice.
Yeah, not really. I mean, I got to pay for it, She's getting...
Well, figure it out, Dad.
No, I am. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here right now podcasting, right?
Exactly, right.
That's
great, though.
But no, it is great. I'm proud of her. And
you need to see what he does after we finish with the podcast. He'll stand in that corner there with a little can, and these people in the traffic
need to pay for college for my daughter.
My daughter's out of state. I need.
But anyways, I feel
Berkeley fun.
I know exactly where you're coming from.
Yeah,
because now you're thinking about your kids, and you're like, do I really want this for my kids?
Well, I'm conflicted because like my grandfather's, for example, right? My dad's dad, medical doctor. You got to go to school, right? He loved medicine. He got real sick when he was a little kid, and the story goes that he had like these I don't know. I guess he had like strep throat or something. And back in the day, like they didn't have antibiotics, so they just kind of lance the pustules or whatever, and
they get in your mouth and they clean you up.
They rip it all out, and then and that's when my grandpa was like, I want to be a doctor, So he did, and his father was fairly successful up until the Great Depression. So that's when he had to get his hustle on. My mom's dad, sharecropper, don't own anything. You get your pair of shoes from your older brother when he hands it down when you grow out of it. So. He made brooms. He farmed. He made brooms and all this stuff. And and by all means, I mean, my mother's parents didn't even complete the 6th grade, but had really good street smarts, were good with money, and they hustled. And so I'm looking at my daughter like, I grew up, graduated school in the high school in the early '90s, and I'm sure the same with you guys. It's like, and a lot of people out there, it's like if you're not good at school, you're not going to be good at life, and that's bullshit.
Yeah, that's completely bullshit. You're right.
That is just.
We second that.
It's so.
It's like they say nowadays. The A students are working for the C students.
Yeah,
and that's normally how it works out.
Yeah, and so it. Anyway, not to get on the whole tangent about that, but it's. But it all goes back into hustle, and I think that colleges are going to have a problem with their brand.
Yep.
Very, very soon. And that's not my original thought. That's a Gary Vee thought, but it's something I do definitely agree with.
Well, look, not to go too far.
Yeah, let's bring it back to private lending.
No, but we all share a common person that we follow, which is Grant Cardone, right?
Yep, Grant.
And he's got Cardone University.
Yep.
Is it better than going to college? I think so.
It
prepares you for the hustle, man.
Nobody like I have his I got 3 of his modules. I can't remember. I got the kit. I got the kit when I was in Vegas, and 2 of them came. But the first thing I got when I bought my ticket to the conference, it was I got Cardone U. It was on sales, and nobody teaches sales in any school at all. And I don't care. Everybody in this world, everyone out there is a salesperson.
Yep.
If you have a partner, if you have a spouse, you sold them on you somehow, some way. Like I sold my wife. I mean, I sold her big time to marry me.
She believed in you too.
Yeah.
I'll marry you.
Poor girl.
She had no idea.
But yeah, I mean, I sold. It was a sale. Now, was I trying to sell it? No, but that is sales, right? And a kid who wants a 4-year-old who wants to get a cookie or a soda pop is trying to sell his mom or his dad, right? So. Nobody is really teaching sales. I've never had a sales class or know of anyone who took a sales class at the university. Maybe they exist now, but when I was certainly going through it, there was no sales. It was all on the job training.
Yeah.
One of the talking about sales, I was following Jordan Belfort for a little while.
Oh yeah, okay.
Because that guy is one of the best salesmen
Absolutely.
that I've seen out there. I mean, this guy really has a spark. He knows how to get attention of people. And when I saw that movie, The Wolf of Wall Street, which Dennis hasn't seen yet.
You haven't seen
it? He doesn't know what he's missing on.
Don't watch it on the plane. Get the uncut version.
Yeah, get the uncut version. That's how you're gonna enjoy it, right?
Absolutely.
But when he comes on the portion of sell me this pen, and you see the people struggling just to explain.
Salespeople, brokers,
stockbrokers, people that are selling insurance. I mean, this is strictly people that live off commissions.
Yeah.
They couldn't figure out how to sell the pen until one guy says, "Oh, is there something you need to write down here? There you go." So
write your name down. Oh, you need a pen?
You need a pen. There you go. So
okay, don't tell me the whole movie.
Watch it whenever you get a chance.
Yeah.
But anyways, he is really an example of what a salesman should be going after when it comes to presenting themselves and being in the selling business. Anyways, a private lender podcast
every Monday.
Every Monday. Lunchtime, Houston time, which is Central Time, 12 p.m. Right? Is that
it drops at midnight. So
it drops at midnight.
So when you're on your commute into work on Monday morning, you can listen to the latest episode of the Private Lender Podcast.
Go on iTunes or any other of the
iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, basically anywhere there's a podcast listening platform, you can get it there.
Hit like, share it with your friends,
subscribe,
and give it a 5-star review.
Actually, I'm gonna do it right now.
This is how we do this. We go on the phone. We do these things live, man.
We do podcasts.
We go podcasts on iTunes so you guys can see. And I don't know, but I got no reception here.
Lender.
Oh, there it is. Browse.
Podcast.
And then I go. So just to wrap up, Keith.
Yep.
I know we got a lot of material. We can do 5 of these things if we wanted to.
Yeah, we're gonna have to get the schedules together and put something together. I've had a great time. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Who are your mentors today? Like, it doesn't have to be like a mentor that you're paying on a daily basis, but who are you listening to? What are the books that you're reading? The whole 9 yards.
Okay, well, we've already talked about Grant Cardone,
right?
And that I just I like his hustle. So a little bit of Grant. I listened to Gary Vaynerchuk's The Gary V Experience, Tim Ferriss.
Okay.
And then I've also reading Tim Ferriss's books. He's an interesting one, and
the 4-hour work week.
The 4-hour work week.
Yeah, and so I'm reading him, and then
as you can tell, we don't apply that here.
It does. No, to me, it's funny. I didn't read the book for the longest time because I was like, that's crap. Nobody can do that.
Yeah.
But then I read it, and I'm like, oh no, okay, I see where he's coming from. But I do like the way when he gets into something, he gets into it. You know what I mean? Like he dives down deep and. I like that. So that's who I'm listening to reading. Actually, with the podcast, like I feel like I'm getting a master's in business right now because I'm learning about Facebook advertising and promotion and all this other stuff, and at the same time picking up an associate's in IT. So
you're studying right now?
Well, I'm just trying to keep my head above water with everything. Trying to put out a good podcast and try to grow it at the same time, and then also invest in real estate and hopefully raise a good family at the same time. So
he's doing everything.
Well, that's it sounds like a lot, but to me it's if you love what you're doing.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like work.
It's yeah. We're at 7:17 right now. I'm seeing my kids calling and seeing when I'm coming home. But hey, look, I'll go take her to get some ice cream. She'll be happy.
I'll probably have to sit down and watch The Wolf of Wall
Street. You got
to
check out The Wolf of Wall Street, man. It's a great show. And what's his name? The sidekick guy.
What's
his name?
I can't remember his name, but
Jonah Hill.
Yeah, Jonah Hill.
He's actually
he puts in a good show.
It's a good show, and the
part where he quits his job, like I'm gonna quit my job. That was just hilarious, man.
We don't want to spoil it for you, but thank you guys for having me out. And,
again, if you want to follow Keith, please do. Just go to Private Lender Podcast. You can find him also on Facebook, the Private Lender Podcast, Instagram, or you can call him. I don't know if you want to give out your phone number. I just put it there, but
do it. Why not?
Okay, 713-306-4478.
Yeah, if you're a private lender and you want to learn how to do some lending done correctly, reach out to Keith. He'll be able to help you on how to structure the deal.
If you have that's the whole reason for the podcast is to help people learn how to do it safely, securely, and to be able to do it over and over and over again, because that's how you build wealth.
All right.
With that being said, you all have a great weekend. You all have a great week going after. If you're listening to
Easter weekend this weekend.
Yeah, this is Easter weekend. Don't forget to go on our website, renovatingrichesradio.com, renovatingrichesradio.com. renovandoriquezas.com is in Spanish. Go find us on iTunes and every other platform there is out there. We're everywhere. Hit like, subscribe, share, and no less than a 5-star review. Thank you so much.
All right, have a good one, everyone.
Bye. Thanks.
Thank you for listening and watching renovatingrichesradio.com. Find us and give us a like and 5-star review on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and any other social network you can find us. renovatingrichesradio.com.